All right, so move on to the next segment. I'll be sharing my thoughts on Raiders star wide receiver Davante Adams officially requesting a trade. So I don't know what's going on in Vegas. I don't know where things went south between Davante Adams and the Raiders organization, but it seems like Davante Adams might have played his final snap with the Las Vegas Raiders. Yesterday, Raiders head coach Antonio Pierce liked an Instagram trade rumor picture that a post that had Davante Adams possibly in trade rumors. And Davante Adams then went on the Ups and Adams podcast today and said he has not heard from head coach Antonio Pierce. And then hours after appearing on the Ups and Adams podcast, Davante Adams told the organization that he would prefer to be traded from the Las Vegas Raiders. So, man, oh man, have things gone from better to worse in Vegas. Look, I don't know. This is crazy because you brought him in to be in a winning position. And things haven't worked out in Vegas. Obviously, they're still trying to find a franchise quarterback for the future. I mean, Gardner Minshew is he's just a guy to be there for a year, possibly a bridge guy whenever they draft a quarterback or bring in somebody else. But man, I thought Davante Adams would be a cornerstone for this Vegas rebuild. How they're changing the culture and how Antonio Pierce has changed the culture. But man, was I wrong? So now I think it's just a matter of when the Raiders are going to trade Davante Adams. But I have 3 trade destinations for Davante Adams following his trade request. Now, trade destination number 1 is the New York Jets. I do believe that it would be pretty cool to see the quarterback and wide receiver duo one more time of Aaron Rodgers, Davante Adams suit up together. This time in New York in the Big Apple with the New York Jets. Their well-documented history together in Green Bay was a great 1-2 punch on the offensive side of the ball for the Green Bay Packers for plenty of years. The only problem is they never won a Super Bowl together. But I think Davante Adams would be a good fit with the New York Jets because even though they're 2-2, they have struggled offensively. And Garrett Wilson has even said that he wants more creativity in the offense. And even though they're 2-2, the good offensive games that they had, they beat up on bad teams. That being the Tennessee Titans and the New England Patriots, who are both in the conversation of being the worst team in the National Football League right now. So other than that, they've been outplayed on the defensive side of the ball by the 49ers week 1. And then last week against the Denver Broncos when they failed to score a touchdown. So I think this will be this will be a good pickup if the Jets could get Davante Adams. I mean, you could trade for him. You could have Davante Adams and Garrett Wilson play on the outside with Mike Williams playing in the slot. And this trade I would have Davante Adams being traded to the New York Jets in exchange for a 3rd and 4th round pick to give to the Raiders along with Hassan Reddick. So, hey, I think that's a win-win for everybody, especially Hassan Reddick, who wants to get the hell out of New York and is getting he's getting fined, nearly millions of dollars because he refuses to show up and play for this New York Jets team after he was traded there months ago when he was a part of the Philadelphia Eagles. And he can't get traded back to the Philadelphia Eagles because of the NFL trade rule that it has to be 2 years in order for a player to be retraded back to that respective organization. So I think that's a good trade for Davante Adams to get back with Aaron Rodgers and play in the Big Apple with the Jets. I think that makes the Raiders happy because they said they are looking for a second round, something around the line of a second round compensation for Davante Adams. So I think that's a fair trade. Now let's move on to team number 2. Now team number 2, I do believe, is the Washington Commanders. I think the Washington Commanders would be a great fit for Davante Adams at this particular point, and it seems like they will be all in on Davante Adams. And that sucks for me saying that as a Dallas Cowboys fan because I don't want to see Davante Adams go into the NFC East, let alone play for the Commanders team that is firing on all cylinders right now to start off the NFL season. They're 3-1. They're first place in the NFC East. Jaden Daniels and Dan Quinn are quickly changing the culture for this Washington Commanders team. Jaden Daniels and Cliff Kingsbury are taking over on the offensive side of the ball as well. I give Cliff Kingsbury a lot of credit for how he's coached Jaden Daniels on the offensive side of the ball. The play calling has been spectacular thus far. And the thing is, they're doing this with a lot less talent on the offensive side of the ball, pass catching wise, because Terry McLaurin needs some help. And the next best pass catcher on this Washington Commanders team is Zach Ertz. So if you put Davante Adams and Terry McLaurin on the outsides for the wide receiver position with this young talented quarterback and Jaden Daniels, who is firing on all cylinders right now to start off the NFL season, I think that'd be a great fit for the Commanders moving forward. And the trade package I have would be the Commanders trading away their second round 2025 pick. Actually, there are two 2025 third round picks for Davante Adams. I think that's a fair deal. I think that gives the Raiders two picks for draft night number 2 and move forward. I think that's a fair trade. That's in the range and the ballpark for what they're looking for. So I think that's a good trade for both teams moving forward if they do it. Now, the final team on my list is the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, the Pittsburgh Steelers have been scratching and clawing to get their hands on a number 1 wide receiver for months now. Because I remember when Brandon Ayuk was trying to work out a new deal with the San Francisco 49ers, the news broke that the Pittsburgh Steelers and the San Francisco 49ers actually had a deal locked in to trade Brandon Ayuk there during the NFL draft and send him to Pittsburgh. But they missed out on the Brandon Ayuk sweepstakes, and they have not traded for a wide receiver just yet, after Deontay Johnson was traded to the Carolina Panthers as well. So the Steelers, outside of the Indianapolis Colts game, has only scored a total of 3 offensive touchdowns this NFL season. And despite the fact being 3-1, I mean, the defense has played a big part of winning 3 ball games this year, and the coaching of Mike Tomlin, of course, who refuses to have a losing season. But other than George Pickens, there's no wide receivers that can create separation and help Justin Fields get down the field and put 6 points on the board. So I think it would be really good for the Pittsburgh Steelers to at least attempt the trade for Davante Adams and bring him to Pittsburgh and give Justin Fields or Russell Wilson a true number 1 wide receiver in Pittsburgh. Now, the Steelers do have a total of 10 draft picks for the 2025 NFL Draft. I believe a second round and a 4th round pick will be enough to get Davante Adams in Pittsburgh to play for the Pittsburgh Steelers, and they finally get a number 1 wide receiver once again. Something that they haven't had in a long time. But I'll close out this segment by saying this. Davante Adams, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, is not washed by any means necessary. If you watch the Raiders, if you watch the NFL in general, Davante Adams is 31 years of age, still has a lot left in the tank. Still, when healthy and produces with a quarterback that will give him the ball, I have to still have him in that top 5 conversation, because the man is an elite route runner, one of the best route runners in the National Football League. You've seen the numbers that he did when he had a good quarterback of Aaron Rodgers. You've seen the numbers that he did when he had a good quarterback in Derek Carr. So I think Davante Adams, if he could get to a place that has a pretty good quarterback or has some upside potential, Davante Adams is going to be back to that old guy that we knew in Green Bay, the old guy that we knew in Vegas when Carr was in town. So any team's going to be lucky to have him. It'll be interesting to see who gets their hands on Davante Adams. I do believe he has played his last snap for the Las Vegas Raiders.